Hey everyone, welcome to the next part in my mechanic schooling blog. So as of filming right now, this is in June of 2021. My second semester, there's 4 semesters in total as I mentioned before. Second semester started in January of this year and went all the way through till May. And all went well, all went good. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a few of the classes like I did in the last couple of videos. What I saw in the second semester. There were 7 classes once again. It was 5 automotive classes, 1 elective. You pick your course, but you have to do 1 extra course that's not automotive related, and then 1 college communication / English course. So I'll kind of talk about a few of those right now, and then we will talk about the rest in another video and stuff like that. And as I mentioned in previous videos, this is still during all the COVID lockdown stuff, so I'm still doing online schooling for most of them. So I will talk about that and what was involved in whichever classes, things like that. But yeah, this was still COVID. As we're in June 2021 and things are starting to lift, vaccines are rolling out, all sorts of stuff. Whether you believe it or not, we're not going to debate anything like that here. This is just a car channel, whatever. But we are looking at... In September, I may actually be in class for the first time, so we'll see how that goes. But let's get right into the courses now. Okay, so first I'll talk about the elephant in the room for me is the college communications. For all my courses, the 7 courses I had in this semester, I only really had extensive homework in 2 of them, and that was my elective and the college communications. Automotive stuff, probably no surprise, comes pretty easily. So college communications, what's that really? That's just basically writing essays and sourcing material, citing your sources, reading articles, then giving opinion articles about it, things like that. That's all it is. And so a lot of it was a lot of researching, and because I haven't been in school in a high school, the last sort of thing, that's been what, like 20 years, I think. So a lot of this stuff, I had to kind of reawaken. So the college communication one was a little weird, but it's like, at least they had all sorts of different articles and stuff about all sorts of topics, everything from politics to health to travel to automotive. There was at least a couple automotive, so at least I found some in my fields. But I did pick. We did 2 articles in total, and then you have to do research and cite sources and all that sort of stuff. And luckily, I did 1 as an automotive one. I did another one as an opinion piece, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, that was kind of like the annoying one. All right, so next up was measurements and calculations, class 2. And this was more in depth and kind of an expansion on the first class. It took a lot of the principles and the laws of hydraulics and all that sort of stuff and kind of put it into more tangible and real world settings. Although I'll be honest with you, a lot of those I haven't used in the automotive world. I'm not sure if I will use them actively, but there was a lot of things that were good to know. Stuff like calculating radius, which will, for example, apply if you're taking 1 tire and you're upgrading to a bigger tire, calculating out those measurements and things like that. And other things like, for example, let's say you had a piston, let's say you had a pump, and you had a small piston and a big piston inside the pump. And let's say it's a 1-inch piston on this side, 1-inch piston, and you're applying, let's say 5 pounds of force on this piston. Well, then how much force do you get on the piston? Let's say that's 2 inches. So you have a bigger piston over here. So it's about multiplying how you do torque multiplications and things like that. All sorts of stuff in there. So it was a good course, and really gave some background numbers. A lot of it's engineering stuff. But still, it's good to kind of know where everything comes from. And when they calculate, for example, when you have calipers on your brakes, and when you're pressing the brake pedal and that lever action on the brake pedal, you push down, that lever force, which then applies pressure through the brake booster, through the master cylinder, to the brake fluid, which then applies to the caliper pistons, we actually went through that whole calculation, how you can look at how much force you're applying on the brakes, like how much you're applying, and then through the multiplications and stuff, how you can calculate how much force is being applied to the caliper pistons. So it's all sorts of stuff like that. Really complicated mathematical stuff. Not overly complicated, but I imagine it throws some people off. Next up, we did fuel and emissions. And this, again, talked about different types of fuel. We talked about gas. We talked about diesel, E85, propane, things like that. How they apply. Again, calculating things like combustion cycle and discussing octane. We even discussed things like air filters versus K&N filters and the goods and bads for those. We talked about emission systems, so how a catalytic converter works, resonator, muffler. Again, a lot of stuff I know. I've been working on. One of the things I do kind of specialize a bit in is ignitions and emission systems, at least a little bit. And I won't say I'm a pro, but a little bit. But it's still, they broke it down a bit more. The professor was very good in this one, as is the other professors. It's just a lot of those type of calculations, how intake manifold works, how it cools the air when it's coming in, looking at old school American big block engines versus newer, smaller Honda 4-pod engines and Kias and stuff like that. And looking at their intake systems, one-piece systems, two-piece systems, all sorts of stuff. This is now, in the second semester, we're starting to go really more in depth, so it's really kind of digging things in. And we even got some engines, we have to take the intake systems apart, exhaust systems apart a bit. So yeah, it was pretty cool. The last one I'll talk about now is steering, suspension, and brakes. I don't know if I come across as my videos. I only put out so many videos really, but steering, suspension, and brakes is one of the first things I started working on 20 something years ago. Actually, technically I started off on lighter stuff, audio systems, lighting, things like that, fun stuff. Then I moved into tune-ups and oil changes, and then one of the things I got into was brake suspension and stuff like that. So I've been doing this for a long time. So I actually enjoyed this course a lot. I got to see some suspension systems I don't get to see very much that comes into when I'm working, like torsion beam suspensions and stuff like that. These days, a lot of cars are McPherson strut. I'm reminded of how much I hate brake drums. Oh dear Lord, do I hate brake drums and shoes. Shoes, not the drums, the shoes and the spring kits. I love the simplicity of caliper systems and rotors and pads. I hate dealing with shoes and springs, although I have the tools, and I just hate dealing with the springs and shoes and all this. I hate it. I've always hated it. I'm happy so many cars don't have it anymore. There's still cars, I still get them, but we're super rare now these days. So I was reminded in that class of how much I dislike them. We did talk about bleeding out systems, bleeding master cylinders. We did tire repair. So one thing I can't do, well, I know there's some people do. I'll be straight up, I don't do it. I do temporary tire repairs, like if there's a puncture and you do just the tire repair kit from the top. But this one showed actually how you do a proper repair by taking the tire off, sanding on the inside of the tire, and then you put a patch and all that sort of stuff. It went through that whole thing, which I haven't done, so I've never done that before. We also did wheel balancing and stuff, and I did wheel balancing, but because I work from home, I don't have a wheel balancer here. So even the old school ones or anything. So if I ever need wheels balanced, I have to go to a shop. And so I haven't done a wheel balance in 20 years. So it's kind of cool to kind of do a wheel balancing again. It all came naturally like riding a bike, but I did have to remind myself about it. So yeah, that course I enjoyed a lot simply because it's something I do a lot. I deal with suspension system tie rods. It's all about diagnosing ball joints and stuff like that. Tie rods, struts, short arm, long arm suspensions, all sorts of stuff. So yeah. So that's it. I know this has been a longer video, like I'm approaching 10 minutes now, I think. But yeah, that's kind of what we saw in the first 4 classes of semester 2. So in the next 2 videos, I'm going to do another video to talk about the last 3 classes, and then I will do another video telling what's next. And I think that'll be it for my blog until September, for at least for the mechanics side of things. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching and going along this journey with me. and I will see you all next video.